My name is Vinnie Ciesielski, and I am what many would consider a professional musician. I play trumpet, all the trumpets and kind of the brass. I'm a studio owner. I'm a horn arranger, a recording engineer, and I try and make the world a better place every day by tooting a few notes on a good song. My earliest memory of picking up an instrument. I lived in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale. I joined a community drum and bugle corps. I was 8 or 9. And I was a big kid, so they put me on bass drum. Bob Spears, who was the corps director. And he said, "Come with me, kid," and put his arm around me. And he pushed me into this room. And they had these Sears and Roebuck, which is an old company when I was a kid, a box about this big. And it was a white box with a red bugle on one side and a blue bugle on the other, and then red and blue. And he said, "We need bugle players, and you're a terrible drummer." Thanks, man. So I took it home. And the first night I took it home, my dad played trumpet when he was a kid. And we sat down, and my dad taught me taps, and my dad taught me reveille. And at the end of the first week, I was ate up, man. I just wanted, come on, dad, teach me some more. And at the end of the first week, he said, I can't do this anymore because the kid's already better than I ever was. So about a month later, a little bit before my birthday, my parents bought me a silver Bundy trumpet, and I started taking lessons with a guy named Al Carroll, who was a great teacher. One day, he said, "We're going to play in the upper register of the trumpet," which can be challenging for some people. And he said, "I'm going to play a note, look at my fingers, see where it is. I just want you to play that note back." And we went up to what in trumpet language would be a high F at 9 years old. And effortless, and he put some Harry James vibrato on it, and I matched him and put my horn down, and he didn't say anything. He just said, "Okay, we're going to move on." Just like it was regular. When on the inside, he was probably freaking out because 9-year-old kids don't do that. And then one other day, I came into my trumpet lesson, and he said, "What's wrong, kid?" I said, 9 years old. "I'm having a bad day." How do you have a bad day when you're 9, And he said, "Stop right there." And I'll never forget this. It's been the mantra of my life. He said, especially when you have a trumpet in your hand, you never have a bad day. You have good days, and you have great days. And it sounds silly, but when you can click that in your mind, it changes everything. When I first started playing, it was the most carefree that I was as a kid, and I was pretty carefree. And then when I played the trumpet and people would applaud, I was like, oh, okay, I like this, yeah. I would do these play-along records called Music -1. So at that time, it was Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. And I loved playing that stuff. I was in 4th or 5th grade at a little private school down in Fort Lauderdale. And there was a guy that was an 8th grader. I challenged him because I didn't know any better, and I beat him. How did that happen? And then it was like a light bulb went off over my head. Oh, it's the practice. I got up this morning, man, at 7, and I've already practiced for an hour and 15 minutes. When I got to college, there were other great trumpet players there. I mean, the class that I was in was just like, wait a minute, I thought I was the only one that could do that, and after that, after we started practicing together and I really started to excel in college, I thought, I could do this. I could do this for a living. My first gig was in Cincinnati. I moved back to Baltimore, started a band, but I wasn't making much money. It wasn't sustainable. And then I moved up to Nashville with the same company, and I rode up and down the Cumberland River here in town on a showboat, and it was like a dinner cruise. And it was fantastic. And that was the plan. I wanted that gig when I came into town. So my first wife, 2 kids. We were so broke we couldn't pay attention. I mean, we were so broke. So every penny that I made on the boat was super important. I think I was making like $600 a week. I took a Monday night off and I went and played with a band in Berry Hill. And I played, and the leader of the band said, I don't want you to play lead in the first set. I want you to play lead in the second set. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm on my way out of the building at the end of the gig, and there's this little red-headed girl, and she says, hey, my name is Shelby Lynne, and I'm going on tour in November and December, and I want you to go as my lead trumpet player. And I was like, oh, okay, you know. I literally howled at the moon on the way home. I cannot ever remember being that happy in my life. We were opening for Kenny Rogers, and I made $750 a week. I was happy as a pig in poop, man. It was unbelievable. And I met some people that changed my life on that gig. The trombone player, Charles Rose, Muscle Shoals Horns, down in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, fame and all that stuff. Charles started calling me for sessions down there, man. Harvey, who is a friend of Charles, and they've known each other for years, calls me up and says, hey, man, what are you doing, 2 weeks from now? And I'm nothing. Lyle Lovett wants to try out a brass section, and I want you to go out. And that started my tenure with Lyle. I was with Lyle for like 17 years. But you had instant credibility because of Lyle. Because when I moved to Nashville, they told me, you need a 5-year plan. If you want to tour, put it in your 5-year plan. If you want to get a session, put it in your 5-year plan. The 5-year plan had been kind of wiped out in a year. And then it just took off from there. I got super lucky and was dragged along on the coattails of some really great and incredible writers and musicians and artists, and just absolutely amazing. So I'm very thankful. My wife, Beth, who is the absolute light of my life and best thing that the universe has ever put in my path. We've been married 12, 13 years. She's going to kill me if she sees this. She wanted to go to Paris, bucket list. So I talked to Hoob, and Hoob said, I want you to come to the Netherlands. And I want you to be here while I build your horns. And I was like, oh, okay. So we planned our Paris trip. We spent 8 or 9 days in Paris, jumped on a train, went up to the Netherlands, and stayed for 4 days in a castle. And I tried this flugelhorn first. And I said, that's the one. That is the horn. This is a flugelhorn. These are trumpets. They're kind of grungy and dirty, but the inside's clean. And what comes out of the end on them is a joyful noise. This flugelhorn was made by a guy named Hoob van Laar. He's over in the Netherlands. When I was 25 years old and I sneezed, and when I used to sneeze, I used to hold it in, like that. And right on the back of my head, right about here, I got this, it felt like a electrical shock. And it was about the size of a quarter. I couldn't feel anything in that spot. It was numb. Like you could hit me with a hammer and I wouldn't know it. Second time it came over the top of my head and down my face. Just on the left side. And the next day, my face was numb. Next time it was all the way down the left side of my body. So if you drew a magic marker from the top of my head all the way down my body, everything on the left side was numb. It was diagnosed as a condition called syringomyelia, which is a long term for a cyst in my spinal cord. It's about the size of my pinky. So since then, since I was 25 and I'm 62 now, I have had to play the trumpet. So like when I pick up my trumpet like this, I have to kind of look at the horn to be able to put my hand in correctly. Physically, my muscles were working, they still do. I rode 7,000 miles a year on a bicycle for 12 years. I mean, just all these incredible things. And to be, without sounding like a jerk, to be playing at the level and doing the things that I'm doing with this malady, it is nothing short of a miracle. Period. End of discussion. Everybody's got something, right? But if your body is whole and you can feel everything, and you don't have cancer, or you don't have blah 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 blah, and you make up any kind of an excuse why not to be positive, or why not to succeed, or why not to even try, I got to tell you, bro, if I can do it with this, anybody can do it. Because when God was giving out talent, you know what a thimble looks like? Mine was about half full, and I have stretched it and pounded on it, and and being able to make a career out of it. My legacy is going to be in my recordings, and when people listen to that, whether it's today or in 20 years, I want them to hear the gratitude and the joy and the sheer, like, I'm just gobsmacked that I'm where I am. I have no idea how I got here, because I did a lot of stuff wrong, but somehow it's worked out. And so if you listen to the music and it moves you, or it prepares you for what you need to do, that's definitely my legacy, for sure.